So got some questions about our 360 knife defenses and some of the angles and just kind of what's going on with that in general. So we're going to talk about that for a few minutes. So first thing we want to do is understand a little bit about our attackers. Our attackers for this can vary greatly. You know, knife attacks and you know, things with blades vary very much due to culture. So, you know, the way that someone's going to handle a knife is very reliant on the environment they're in. So one example of that would be somebody who is using that as a means of getting what you have. So I'm going to threaten you with a knife or else. So maybe I'm trying to get your bag and you fight back and I pull the knife and I decide to throw a poke at you to get you to let go of the bag. I might not have a lot of follow through with that because as the attacker, my main goal was just to get your things, right? I'm not trying to assassinate you in that sense. Sometimes if you see places that have, you know, more knife culture, you know, see people that both have blades but are very hesitant to use them. So instead of these really big dedicated attacks, what you see on these videos are very much like coming in and like quick pokes, right? They're trying to give a quick poke in the neck, a quick poke in the chest to pierce the lung. Some places in Asia, depending on what martial arts people study, you know, it's a lot about a lot of quick little cuts and then creating space and letting the person bleed out. So, you know, we can go down the road with what's my attacker like because this is sort of fantasy land right now. But what I really want to keep in mind is that the 360 defense is a means to start using my fighting skills. Okay, my 360 defense is going to save me from that initial attack, but my follow through and my counter attack is what's going to keep me from getting hurt past that, right? So our 360 defense, ideally, like I said, you know, we're able to make a hard defense, we're stopping it. So for example, if somebody's coming in underneath for this low stab, you know, from the side, what I'm doing is I'm kicking my hips back. We call this hollowing out. I'm gonna kick my hips back, make a nice rigid block. And so the important thing with this block as I come in is that you see my shoulder is in line. Everything in my body is in line. So when I get hit with that, I'm able to maintain my position and my posture. I wanna, again, think about this block almost like I would a strike, where when I see this, I wanna fire that arm out, right? And make hard contact with that attacking limb. Really, when we do this, you see when we do the shadow, even when I demoed it, I'm stepping in, I'm coming in. Chances are I probably won't really be able to cover that much ground. I don't know that I would do this in a situation where I would need to come in this far. If somebody were further back and coming at me with a knife from a longer attack, I might be more prone to try to create space, try to find something around me, create space where I can use other tools to create distance or to fend that person off. When we train this and on point, a lot of the times we have our attackers up at sort of almost this just outside of arm's reach and generally holding something behind, and I will come out at an angle of my choosing. The important thing with any kind of knife training is not to get into this just like flow drill of, okay, now you're gonna stab me just like this, perfect, I'm gonna step around and do this. It's good to learn the motions like that, but the difference between Krav and other martial arts is that we're really learning about fast, violent, effective responses to threats, okay? So this initial reaction, if somebody comes in for an underneath stab, this initial reaction, this block, is really just to allow me to follow up. Like the chances of me actually blocking and simultaneously striking and knocking that person out are very, very slim. What I do want to realize is that any contact I make with that person when they're trying to strike is going to short circuit them a little bit and get them off of their rhythm. That ideally allows me to go onto the offensive. So whether or not I'm training to do something like, you know, oh, I defend from that strike and now I'm going to follow up with other strikes to create distance and run, or maybe my partner, when they're in close, they go for multiple stabs, or they go to stab one and they go to stab again, and maybe now I have to wedge in or I have to crash in and try to get control of that limb to make sure that they can't keep attacking me. The thing that we want to keep in mind with a lot of our knife attacks these aren't necessarily trained people, right? These aren't people that have spent years doing martial arts and are coming after you with every technique they've learned from white belt to black belt. A lot of times, knife attacks statistically are very emotional. They're used with a lot of bad intent behind them. So what we want to be aware of is the repetition in attack and how to stop that. So people who tend to slash tend to keep on slashing. People who tend to stab tend to keep on stabbing, as again, knife attacks aren't typically a well thought out sort of process for that person. They're either used as a last resort, or I'm going to basically wait and try to ambush you, right? And that's really what Krav is meant to address, is that ambush kind of situation. So very much like, you know, we're talking about in our last class, like improv, like if you do improv acting, the way that I train my improv skills as an actor, right, aren't necessarily to perform those same exact jokes or lines later on. It's to get a feel for how that flow works, what my responses need to be, and where things can lead to, so that when I'm put on the spot in a situation that I'm unfamiliar with an attacker that I don't necessarily maybe even know their motivations, I'm able to still access and use these skills in a way that's effective for me. I haven't trained to do an interpretive dance. I have trained to respond to a situation with tools, being consistent and being aggressive. Thank you guys very much, and I'll see you on the next one.